I'm pulling out of the driveway. We all know what that means. It's time for the Drive to Work Coronavirus Edition. Okay, so today I'm going to go back and look at a product that we made for 10 years. The product's called From the Vault. So I'm going to talk about how the product came to be and walk through all the different versions of it and just share some stories about it. Okay, so we'll start with From the Vault Dragons. That was the very first one. Okay, so this product was the brainchild of a man named Mark Purvis. I've had Purvis on my show before. He is currently Magic Architect, I believe is his name. In the past, he's been a brand manager. Mark is a longtime Magic fan who got hired on the business side of Magic. And Mark is a collector. He's always been a collector. He loves collecting things. He loves collecting Magic cards. And so he came up with this idea for a product that was just for people who loved collecting. And the idea was, I think the product was originally made, the idea of the product was, it was something we would give just to the stores that would be sold through our game stores. And I think mostly through the ones that we had, there's a whole hierarchy of stores we work with. And so this was for like our best stores. Something we could give them, they have access to that would be special for them, that they could sell to their players. And anyway, Mark had this idea for something that could show off the coolness of Magic and would have lots of different styles and would be something that would just really be cool and fun to collect. And I think From the Vault was his name. I think he called it From the Vault. And so Mark's vision was that every year we'd make one of these and it would just have a different theme and that the themes would jump around and that not every set was necessary for every style of player, but they would just show off the breadth of kinds of things that you could collect. So this first team had a bunch of people on it. I was one of them. And the idea was Mark had the premise for what it wanted to be, but there was a lot of discussion for sort of its first theme. So the idea, by the way, From the Vaults was they would have 15 cards. There's one exception, which we'll get to when we get there. But they would have 15 cards, and they would all the cards would be cards that fit into the theme of the set, some of which could have new art, and then they could have a holographic foil treatment. Also, these cards were in the area after with the new 8th edition frames, but before they changed in 2015. So the idea was some of these cards would be older cards that didn't exist in the newer frame. So you would get, black border post edition 8th edition frame. You'd have a holographic foil treatment. Some of the cards would get new art, and all the sets would come with a spin down life counter that had the expansion symbol from this, because each From the Vault would have its own expansion symbol. Other things would come with the product. I'll get to them as we talk individual ones. But all of them had 15 cards, black border, whatever the latest frame was, it changes with time, and I have a holographic foil treatment. Okay, so why did we start with dragons? Well, why was dragons the first one? I think Mark liked the idea of kind of starting with a very timmy-tammy set, like something that just, people like this because it's an exciting thing. So we do a lot of market research, and one of the things we ask people is, what's your favorite creature type? And almost always dragons win. Dragons is the number one favorite creature type of players. I'll talk about some other ones as we get to them, but dragons is almost always ranks the highest. Obviously, we built a couple different sets around dragons. There was Dragons of Tarkir and Fate Reforged both had dragon themes. Scourge had a little bit of a dragon theme. It's the one thing we've done a lot of different cycles of. There's been dragon cycles in all sorts of different products. Players really like dragons, and so we said, okay, we want to start big and bold. We know players like dragons. It's a very timmy-tammy kind of card. We'll start with dragons. Okay, so the 15 cards that were in the very first From the Vaults was Blade Wing the Risen, Bogardan Hellkite, Draco, Dragonwhelp, Dragonstorm, Ebon Dragon, Form of the Dragon, Hellkite Overlord, Kakusho the Evening Star, Nicol Bolas, Niv-Mizzet the Fire Mind, Rith the Awakener, Shivan Dragon, Thunder Dragon, and Two-Headed Dragon. And Dragonwhelp, Form of the Dragon, Nicol Bolas, Rith, Shivan Dragon, and Thunder Dragon had brand new art. One of the things that was challenging about this first set was it's red's iconic. Most dragons are red. So we really went out of our way to make sure that not all the dragons were just mono red. Bladewing is black red. Draco is an artifact. Ebon Dragon is mono black. Kakusho is mono black. Hellcat Overlord is black, red, green. Nicol Bolas, this was the original one from Legends, was blue, black, red. Niv Mizzet is blue, red. Rith is red, green, white. So we try to make sure that all the colors showed up. Obviously, red shows up a lot more. And other than the two black dragons and Draco, they all have some sort of red in them because red's iconic. But we made a big, bold, splashy. The other thing about From the Vaults was we only put so many out, meaning it was locked how many existed. So it was meant to be a collectible. So, I mean, as we went along, I think how many we made of each From the Vault might change a little bit. But it was always, we had a set number. That's what we were selling. We gave them to the stores. They were what we call allocated, meaning the stores got a certain number of them. And that's what they got. The first one came out, people liked From the Dragons, but one of the feedbacks we got was there were not as many solo cards that were kind of exciting in a vacuum. Oh, the one other thing we did, by the way, the first one is we had an insert with the rules for a new format called Elder Dragon Highlander, which you might know now as Commander, but this is so early we hadn't yet dubbed it Commander. We hadn't made a Commander product yet. This predates all that. But one of the feedbacks we got from this set was definitely... players liked it, and there are definitely players that collected it, and it sold out, but it wasn't as exciting as we thought. So I was on the team for Dragons. I was put in charge of From the Vault Exiled, which is the next one. So From the Vault Exiled came out in 2009, so Dragons, I guess that means came out 2008? Yes, so 2008. So it came out in the summer, in August usually. Okay, so I was put in charge of Exiled, and I said, okay, I need two things I wanted to do. One was I wanted it to be a little bit more exciting than Dragons had been, and I wanted to sort of keep alive Mark's vision of this. I wanted to just do a completely different vantage point. I wanted to care about a different kind of thing. So this set could be for a different kind of player was the idea. Okay, so the idea I came up with was cards that had been banned or restricted. The thing I liked about that was, one, it got to show off a little bit of history. Two, it leaned a little more towards Spike, because obviously if cards are banned or restricted, most of them are good. Not all of them were necessarily amazing, but we did have some fun with cards that got banned, but in modern day, like, really? Why? Did those need to be banned or restricted? But anyway, so From the Vault had the following cards. Balance, Berserk, Channel, Gifts Ungiven, Goblin Lackey, Kird Ape, Lotus Petal, Mystical Tutor, Necropotence, Sensei's Dividing Top, Serra de Befreet, Skull Clamp, Strip Mine, Tinker, and Trinisphere. And Balance, Berserk, Goblin Lackey, Necropotence, Serra de Befreet, Strip Mine, and Tinker all had new art. The other thing, I think this was the first set that was available on Magic Online. And this set went over, the first set sold out. Dragon sold out. It wasn't like it didn't do well. But this set, even more so, like we found like putting in a little bit more exciting cards that individually, like Dragons were exciting in the loose sense that people like Dragons, but these were like really powerful cards that people wanted to have access to and have, special, holofoil, have special nice treatments of them. Like I said, and some of them with brand new art. So this one definitely did a little bit better and really sort of demonstrated an important thing to us as, hey, one of the things that really makes From the Vault kind of sizzle is just having really exciting cards. And that the theme should be exciting, but that it just had to be individual cards that really people wanted. And that really sort of redefined a little bit how we wanted to think of making From the Vaults. Okay, so next up in 2010 was From the Vault Relics. Okay, so this Relics meant artifacts. I know we spent a lot of time. We figured out we want to do artifacts. This was another set that I worked on. I worked on the early ones, and the later ones I did not work on. I worked on the first 4 or 5. Artifacts seem like something where there's a lot of history there. We could talk about things. Oh, speaking of which, From the Vault Relics was the first one that included a collector's guide. And the collector's guide sort of walked you through. I think the earlier ones had done a little bit like a little thing. This was a little more exacting and sort of walked you through the historical, like what each card meant to history. And allowed us to give a little more context to what the cards were. And like I said, we were very careful as we started picking these to really pick cards that meant something. This particular one, because of the artifacts, there's a lot of history of artifacts in Magic. So the cards in this product were Aether Vial, Black Vice, Isochron Scepter, Ivory Tower, Jester's Cap, Karn Silver Golem, Masticore, Mirari, Mox Diamond, Memory Jar, Neverwolf Disc, Soul Ring, Sundering Titan, Sword of Body and Mind, and Zern Orb. And the cards that had new art were Aether Vial, Black Vice, Isochron Scepter, Ivory Tower, Masticore, Mox Diamond, Neverall Disc, and Zernor. And the other thing we did, which we did this one time, is I think there were 4 of the cards. So Karn Silver Golem, Masticore, Mox Diamond, and Memory Jar were all on the reserve list. And there was at the time a loophole in the reserve list that said that it didn't count toward foils, premium versions of cards. And so we made it here. We also did that same thing in a dual deck, I think. And anyway, the response was negative. We ended up rewriting the rules and saying, okay, we will not put foil versions of reserve list cards in new products. But this is the one time, this and the dual deck were the one time we did it. So this is the one from the vault that does have some reserve list cards on them. And one of them, Mox Diamond, is not only reserve, and Masticore, 2 of them are both reserve list and brand new art, which is something that's very hard to do on cards that you're never supposed to print again. So a rarity here. Artifacts proved to be a good theme. I think artifacts were, one of the things that was a challenge as the product went along is early on we got to pick themes. Like artifacts is a pretty meaty theme. There's lots of really exciting artifacts from Magic's past. As we went along, it got a little trickier. As you see, it got a little trickier to do it. But that was from the Vault Relics. Okay, next up, our 4th one in 2011 from the Vault Legends. Okay, so obviously in the very first one we had done an EDH, Elder Dragon Highlander insert. By now we had put out a commander deck. I think we had put it out. Actually, this is around the time we started doing Commander. But anyway, the Commander format had become very popular, and so this from the vault was all legendary creatures. And a lot of the ones we chose were ones we knew were popular in this newish Commander form. At this point it was a few years old, but it was newer as compared to now. So anyway, this product had Teferi Mage of Zhalfir, Kresh the Bloodbraided, Progenitus, Kiki-Jiki Mirrorbraker, Sun Quan Lord of Wu, Duran the Siege Tower, Kau Lord of Wei, Captain Sisay, Omnath Locus of Mana, Una Queen of the Fae, Rafik of the Mini, Sharum of the Hegemon, Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, Visara the Dreadful, and Mikaeus the Lunarch. New art for this was Teferi, Kresh, Progenitus, Kiki-Jiki, Rafik, Sharum, and Visara. You'll notice, by the way, as I named these, a bunch of these cards were specifically cards that were very popular in Commander. And so we definitely went out of our way to try to, take cards that we knew players liked, some of them we gave new art to, but bring them, and once again, these are updated, post-8th edition frames, holographic treatment, kind of exciting versions. We know people like to play this stuff in Commander, and we knew that there was an audience for this, and this was a very popular from the vault. Also, Kau Lord of Wei is from Portal 3 Kingdoms. We also realized that one of the things that this product could let us do is take cards that are kind of hard to get, mostly because of where they initially came out. Portal 3 Kingdoms was a product we made, mostly only came out in the Asian market, a little bit in Australia. There wasn't much outside of that market, so it is not something, for example, that a lot of the markets in the world were able to get. And so those cards are very hard to get. So one of the things we use for products like this is sometimes get cards that were harder to get because of where they came from originally. Anyway, this card was definitely pretty exciting. Players liked it. So let's move on. Okay, next up was from the Vault Realms. Okay, so Realms means lands. These were all cards that had lands. Okay, so the cards in this was Ancient Tomb, Boseiju Who Shelters All, Cephalid Coliseum, Desert, Dried Arbor, Forbidden Orchard, Glacial Chasm, Grove of the Burn Willows, High Market, Maze of Ith, Murmuring Bosk, Shivan Gorge, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, Vesuva, and Windbrisk Heights. The new art of these was Cephalid Coliseum, Dried Arbor, Forbidden Orchard, Glacial Chasm, Grove of the Burn Willows, Maze of Ith, Shivan Gorge. Okay, so the funny thing about this one was we spent a little time trying to get the theme. This is the first one I didn't work on, by the way. Mark Gottlieb, I think, ran this one. I'd worked on the first 4, but by the 5th one, I was no longer working on it. I was busy doing other stuff. It is common sometimes, by the way, that I'll work on things early on, sort of get them established of what they are, help define them as products, and then move on to other things. Anyway, this the the idea of lands came. Lands, there's a lot of exciting lands out there, and I think that in choosing the lands, they were trying to pick things they thought people would enjoy getting their hands on. There was one controversial card. I'll talk about the controversial card. This set had Dryad Arbor that had brand new art, and it didn't do a really good job of making it clear it wasn't just a basic land card. Everything about the card, the way the card was done was it just literally had a green mana symbol on it, like a basic land would. Now, it said land, creature, forest, dryad, if you looked at the card. But even in the art, the dryad is there, but she looks like a tree. And if you look closely, you can see she's there. But if you're not really paying attention, it just looks a lot like a basic land. And so one of the problems was there were people who were, and this is unsportsmanlike conduct, you're not supposed to do this, but they were playing the land, they were playing Dryad Arbor not with their creatures, but with their lands. And if you're not really paying attention, it's very hard to tell that this land is also a creature. And so people, and they shouldn't be doing this, it's unsportsmanlike conduct, but we're playing the land so where people wouldn't notice where it was because they were playing with their lands, and then when it mattered, they'd surprise them with the creature. And anyway, this card, I think, was problematic in that way, that Dryad Arbor already has some issues with it. We shouldn't make it so easy to disguise as a forest. That was considered a problem. I think I actually had a blog talk post about it. Anyway, I consider that a mistake of this product. But other than that, this product was pretty popular. Lands are another kind of thing where lands just matter. A lot of decks have, obviously, almost all decks have lands in them. And so there are a lot of cards here. And then we were able to find some cool different things to get new art. But all in all, I think this one went pretty well. Okay, next up was From the Vault 20. Okay, so it was 2013. So Magic had come out in 1993, so it was the 20th anniversary of Magic. Now, for those people that remember the 25th anniversary of Magic, we made a big deal of it being the 25th anniversary of Magic. We really did not make a big deal of the 20th anniversary. We downplayed, I don't know why. I wanted to make a big deal, but I was outvoted. We really did not make a big deal of it. I think at the time, they're worried like, it ages us or something. I don't know. I think it's cool that we're 20 years old or 25 years old or soon be 30 years old. Like, I think that's a great thing. I think our history is a plus. But anyway, at the time, I don't know. This was, I believe, the only product that really acknowledges our 20th anniversary. We might have done an article or two online, but there was not much fanfare. This was kind of the one product that had some fanfare. So the idea, I think Gavin Verhey did this set. So the idea that Gavin came up with is, it's the 20th anniversary. What if there was a card from every year? The idea they came up with is just a card that came out that year that meant something. Anyway, so here's how it came out. So representing 1993 was Dark Ritual. 1994 was Swords of Plowshares. 1995 was Hymn to Turok. 1996 was Fyndhorn Elves. 1997 was Impulse. 1998 was Wall of Blossom. 1999 was Thran Dynamo. 2000 was Tanglewire. 2001 was Fact or Fiction. 2002 was Chainer's Edict. 2003 was Akroma's Vengeance. 2004 was Gilded Lotus. 2005 was Ink-Eye, Servant of Oni. 2006 was Char. 2007 was Vestor, Shaper, Savant. 2008 was Chameleon Colossus. 2009 was Cruel Ultimatum. 2010 was Jason the Mind Sculptor. 2011 was Green Sun's Zenith. And 2012 was Kessig Wolf Run. So anyway, that was, I thought a really cool thing. It's funny. One of the challenges that he came up with, so I'll talk about 1994 real quickly, which is Swords of Plowshares. So Swords of Plowshares, for those who know, was an alpha. So the very first version of Swords of Plowshares came out in 1993. The problem I think that he had was 94 is a very tricky year because all the new cards, all the new sets are on the reserve list. So you can't use, for Arabian Nights and Antiquities, you can't use the uncommons or the rares. And for Legends in the Dark, you can't use the rares. Anyway, they're just, for various reasons, there was a great choice. And so he ended up choosing, in 94, I guess, Revised came out. And so, there was a new version of Swords that came out. And okay, there wasn't a great answer. People really want swords. We can make really cool swords. So he ended up choosing Swords for that. Everything else, I think, it's the first year it came out. Swords is the one where there was a new version that came out. There was a product that came out with Swords, but it wasn't the first year it came out. And I think he couldn't find a better answer than that. That's why he ended up with that. So I think they made a special new Lifetime counter design for this set. The other thing they did, so a bunch of cards had new art. So Finhorn Elves, Impulse, Tanglewire, Chainer's Edict, Akroma's Vengeance, Gilded Lotus, Venser Shaper Savant, Cruel Ultimatum all got new art. And a couple cards, Hymn to Turok, just Hymn to Turok? I think just Hymn to Turok. So Hymn to Turok had art that had been used online for digital that hadn't been used in paper. And so while it wasn't new to Magic, I guess, it was new to paper Magic. So that was kind of a big deal. And in some later sets, we also would do that again, where we'd find things that there hadn't been a paper version of this art. So it was kind of cool to do. But anyway, this was super. Jace had been the Jace the Mind Sculptor was the kind of the face. One of the things we definitely did is we'd pick out a card to kind of be the face of the set. Jace was the face of the set. And anyway, this was super popular. And like I said, I wish we had done more for our 20th anniversary than we did. But that was from the Vault 20. Okay, next up is from the Vault Annihilation. So this is 2014. So these are board sweeper. So you can see as we go along that the easy themes get taken. It gets a little trickier to do themes. Board sweepers is a little bit of an odd theme. So this had been normal spin down in the collector's guide. Okay, so the cards in this set were Armageddon, Burning of Ziny, Cataclysms, Child of Alara, Decree of Annihilation, Fire Spout, Fraction and Gust, Living Death, Martial Coup, Rolling Earthquake, Smokestack, Terminus, Upheaval, Virtue's Ruin, and Wrath of God. Armageddon, Cataclysm, Fire Spout, Smokestack, and Wrath of God got brand new art. And Living Death had art used on a paper product for the first time. We'd made art specifically for digital, and this is the first time that it appeared. So this is a good set that started to show a little bit wear and tear of the idea of the themes, and that one of the challenges of this product is as we started making more other products that did more bringing back returning, reprinted stuff. Like when From the Vault started, there wasn't a lot of sets doing a lot of reprints. There were some, but not a lot. And as time went on, more and more sets were doing that. And that is a limited resource. There's only so much for us to reprint. And we try really hard to keep things off one another when we can. And so it became trickier and trickier to make the From the Vaults work. And so From the Vault Annihilation is a good example where we were kind of stretching and it started to show a little bit of the wear and tear of the concept, of From the Vault concept. But anyway, so we came out, and like I said, some of the stuff like Burning of Ziny is a good example of that's another card from Portal Three Kingdoms. You'll notice most of the cards now in From the Vault at this point moving forward have a Three Kingdoms card just because those cards are kind of hard. So we find cards that people played in formats, a lot of times Commander, and try to give them access to it. Okay, so next up was From the Vault Angels. Okay, so this one has a funny story. So Elaine Chase has worked for Magic for many, many years, over 20 years. She actually, if you ever have seen the video at the very first Pro Tour, I'm interviewing people in line, and I interview Elaine. Elaine would later come to work in our organized play, and then she ended up working in R&D, and then she ended up going over to the brand team, and she was the main Magic brand manager for quite a while for Magic. And anyway, then she went on and did a lot of stuff with organized play and running all the stuff online. And now she's off on her own project, working on making a children's game. So Elaine has been with Magic and done all sorts of stuff. And Elaine, when the product first came up, this is back when Elaine was the main brand manager Magic, she had suggested Angels for the very first From the Vault. Instead of Dragons, she had suggested Angels. We ended up doing Dragons because even though Angels is like number 2 or number 3 in popularity, depending on the poll. So Angels are very popular, not quite as popular as Dragons. We went with Dragons. But every time we did it From the Vault, Elaine would always pop her head and go, how about From the Vault Angels? And we went up a bunch of different directions. But finally, 7 years in, I think 7, 8 years in, we finally did From the Vault Angels. So this included Akroma Angel of Fury, Akroma Angel of Wrath, Archangel of Strife, Aurelia the War Leader, Avacyn, Angel of Hope, Baneslayer Angel, Entreat the Angels, Exalted Angel, Iona, Shield of Emeria, Iridescent Angel, Janara, Asura of War, Lightning Angel, Platinum Angel, Sarah Angel, Tariel, Reckoner of Souls. Once again, Angel isn't white's iconic, so a lot of these have white in it, but we found places like Chroma Angel of Wrath, which is mono red. Angel of Fury, which is mono red. Wrath's the white one. We have Platinum Angel, which is an artifact. We had a bunch of multicolor ones. So like Dragons, we did a lot of trying to sort of get as much as we could. The alternate art in this one was a Chroma Angel of Fury, a Chroma Angel of Wrath, Exalted Angel, Iona, Shield of Emira, and Iridescent Angel. And Tariel, Reckoner of Souls, it was an art we had used in an oversized card, but it never used on a small normal card, and we used that there. So, and anyway, they definitely were cards that were exciting for different reasons. We definitely made sure a bunch of popular commanders that happened to be angels were in the set. But anyway, and this was 2015, so we had changed over in this core set to the new frames, and this was the first set that had the what we call the core 2015 frames, which I guess had come out the year before, but before this product maybe. Anyway, so this was the first one to use the frame that has the black part of the bottom, that frame. But anyway, that was Angels. Okay, so next up was From the Vault lore. Once again, this is another one that kind of shows the wear and tear of trying to get themes. The idea of this one was every card in it was something that had to do with Magic's history, and it was tied to story in some way. So the cards were Beseech the Queen, Cabal Ritual, Conflux, Dark Depths, and it also came with a Merit Loach token to go with the Dark Depths. Glissa the Traitor, Hellvault, Memnarch, Mind's Desire, Momir Vig, Simic Visionary, Near Death Experience, Obliterate, Phyrexian Processor, Tolarian West, Umazav's Jitte, Unmask, and Merit Lage. Cabal Ritual, Mind's Desire, and Momir Vig had the alternate art. And so, we once again, the Collector's Guide sort of explained not just historically the cards, but also what role they played in the story. There's definitely cards here that really, like I said, it was becoming harder and harder. With basically what's going on is we're making more and more products that are making use of the resource of returning cards, and it's just becoming trickier and trickier to not do a thing we've done before in From the Vault, and not step on the toe. Like, you need to get 15 cards, and when other sets around you are using some cards, so sometimes you'd have a theme, but I can't use something from that theme because it's being printed there. It became very hard to do, and it was definitely becoming challenging. In fact, which leads us to the final From the Vault Transform, that came out in 2017. It was the 10th and final From the Vault set. So this set had 13 of the 15 cards were double face cards, and 2 of the cards were a meld pair. So, they did transform into the meld. But anyway, the idea is these are all double face cards. The reason is we were running into trouble finding themes that other sets weren't printing. But it turns out it's very hard to do double-face cards in a set not focused on double-face cards. So we tended not to reprint double-face cards. So we saw an opportunity. So the last From the Vault was, we were kind of running out of trouble, but this was the last final idea of, here's something we can do nobody else can do, and we'll do that. One of the clever things, by the way, a little note that I think was really cool was... every From the Vault had an expansion symbol. The expansion symbol for this set, on the front it had the normal expansion symbol, and then when we went on the back, it was mirrored. It was the mirrored version of the expansion symbol. So it was like orange and black, and then it was black and orange. It swapped the colors for what was on the expansion symbol. Anyway, in this one, the cards were Archangel Avacyn, Archangel Avacyn on the front, Avacyn the Purifier on the back, Argyl's Bloodfast on the front, Temple of Acolytes on the back, Arlen Court on the front, Arlen Embraced by the Moon on the back, Bloodline Keeper on the front, Lord of Lineage on the back, Bruin the Fading Light, half of Brucella Voice of Nightmares, Chandra the Fire of Kaladesh, Chandra Roaring Flame, Delver Secrets, Insectile Aberration, Elvis the Blinding Blade, Withgar Unborn on the back, Garrick Relentless, Garrick the Veil Cursed on back, Giselle the Broken Babe, the other part of Brazella Voice of Nightmares on back, Huntmaster the Fells on front, Ravager the Fells on back, Jace's Vren Prodigy on front, Jace Telbeth Unbound on back, Kithen Hero of Akaros on front, Gideon Battleforged on back, Lilian Heretic Healer on front, Lilian Defining Nomancer on back, a Necromancer on back, and Nissa Vastward Seer, Nissa Sage Animist on back. So for starters, all 5 of the Planeswalkers that were in Magic Origins that were a legendary creature on front and a Planeswalker on back, all 5 of them are in this set. The rarest of the meld cards from Eldritch Moon, the Bruna and Gisela that make Brizella, that meld card. And then there were just stuff from various places, from Shadowmoor, from Ixalan, from Innistrad, from Dark Ascension. So mostly these are from Innistrad sets, because Innistrad sets were the sets that had the double-face cards, and from Magic Origins. But anyway, the new art for these is Delver's Secrets, Garruk Relentless, and Huntmaster of the Felds had new art. But anyway, this was just a cool idea. And this, in some ways, it was a nice grand finish for the From the Vaults. The one final From the Vault I want to talk about before we wrap up for the day, I can see my desk, is we did do an April Fool's joke in 2009, From the Vault Vaults. And so From the Vault Vaults had the following vaults in it: Bottomless Vault, Disciple of the Vault, Face Vaulter, Hypervault Grasp, Knowledge Vault, Limdol's Vault, Mana Vault, Mistform Ultimates, Mutavault, Phyrexian Vault, Spoils of the Vault, Time Vault, Vaults of the Whispers, Mana Crypt, and Voltaic Key. I remember when they were making this, the idea of From the Vault Vaults was just very funny. There weren't an exact 15 vaults, so they had to get creative. Like the Voltaic Key, and like the idea of Mistform Ultimates, because it's all creature types, although Vault is actually not a creature type. But anyway, they worked hard to try to get it out. But that was just as a fun little, it didn't actually exist. It just was made as a funny thing, but I thought that was cute. Anyway, guys, I like to use this podcast as a means to do a little bit of history. And this was a product history. This was a product, like I said, we made for 10 years. I know a lot of players had fun buying it. And, anyway, it was fun talking about. And so it's neat looking back. And this is a good example of something we made for a while that people really liked. But, we ended up phasing it out for various reasons, because other things were working better. And but anyway, it's fun talking back and looking back at some history of Magic. But anyway, I'm now at my desk. So we all know that. We all know what that means. It means instead of talking Magic, it's time for me to be making Magic. So I hope you guys enjoyed my little stroll through the history of From the Vault. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.